Okay, well, let's get cracking, shall we? This is the ninth episode of Worship Leader Conversations. And tonight I'm going to be joined with Matt Bray, who is the worship leader, but he's more than that actually, with Harbour Church over in Portsmouth. I'm going to be bringing him in a short while, and he's going to be telling us what he does, the fullness of it, and just sharing with us his journey as a worship leader and as a curate and now a priest in the Church of England. So I'm looking forward to chatting with Matt. Matt's a great guy. We're going to bring him in a short moment. But first of all, let me just kind of welcome you all. Thanks for joining me tonight. Whether you are watching us live on Instagram or you are watching this on catch up on YouTube, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. These worship leader conversations are designed so that you as a worship leader can learn from other people's journeys. That's the incredible thing that we as, in whatever it is that we're doing, we have this opportunity to share our story and help other people learn. And so these conversations are all about connecting with other worship leaders and hearing their story, learning from their journey, learning from the mistakes that they've made, learning from the successes that they've had. And there's so much that we can draw, even if it's just bits and pieces from other people's journeys, but they'll help us grow. They'll help us overcome challenges that we're walking in, and they'll help us to rethink the way that we're doing stuff, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to rethink about the way we're doing things, especially in this time of lockdown at the moment. We need to be rethinking about how we've been leading our teams, how we've been serving in our teams, and how we can grow and keep healthy teams as we come out of this lockdown and into whatever the new world presents to us. So, exciting times. Before I get going into tonight's worship conversation, I just want to let you know that our next 631 Worship Online event, the registration for that has gone on live now. It's going to be on Sunday, the 19th of July. Same time as last time, we'll open the doors at 6:45 and we'll get going at 7 o'clock. Last time we had 40 worship team people from all over the UK and even the Americas joined us for an evening where we all gathered together. We were we heard from Hilda, who I interviewed a few weeks ago, and we heard from Mark, who was the very first person that I interviewed. And they shared their hearts for 10 minutes, fantastic words, both of them. And then we got into breakout groups, and which was probably actually, judging by the feedback, was probably the most fun part of the evening, was when people could get together in groups, usually with people that they had never met before, and talk and share their thoughts and their heart and what it is that they've been learning on their journey and getting ideas from each other. Is brilliant. People really loved that time of connecting with other worship team people. And so the next one is going to be Sunday the 19th of July. Registration is open. It's completely free. You can book in. It is limited to 100 spaces because that's what Zoom limits us to. But you can join in from wherever you are, and it doesn't matter what style or denomination of church you're part of. You can be a part of it. You can get involved because we all have so much to learn and share with each other. So head over to 631worship.com and that will take you to the registration page. You'll find all the details about booking in and what's going to be happening. One of the guest speakers that we're going to have in this next online event is Sarah Lowry, who I spoke to last week. So you can catch up on our conversation that we had last week on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. She'll be one of the people that will be sharing that evening. I'm really looking forward to that because she's got so much to share. Right, let me just see. Let me check my notes, make sure we haven't got anything else to talk about. Oh, also, I'm going to be turning these conversations into a podcast. So I'm going to be launching that fairly soon. But just so you know, we've got conversations scheduled up all the way through to the end of July. I'm going to be taking a break over August for holiday, and then we're coming back in September. And I'm really excited about coming back in September because I've been planning ahead, trying to find some other people to connect with. And through the help of some friends as well, we've been able to get in contact with some other worship leaders. So I will keep you updated. There's some really exciting people that I'm going to be chatting to. I'm really looking forward to it. So I will update you probably at the end of July about what's going to be happening in September. It's going to be good. All right. Hello, Ali. My wife's watching. Hello, Mum. My mum's watching. Yeah, Sarah was also Hilda, wasn't she? She was excellent. So yeah, catch up on that conversation on YouTube. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/mattlockwood73, and you can find all the previous videos up on there, plus some other bits and pieces as well. All right, now here we go. I'm going to bring in Matt Bray, and we're going to spend some time chatting and finding out all about Matt's journey. Right, bear with me a moment. Here we go. Let's bring him in. Here we go. Here he is.
Hey, Matt, you're right.
I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, thank you. Yeah.
So you're currently in your new house, is that right?
I'm in the new house. I'm painting basically. I've just taken a bit of a break from painting the new house, and I've got in a room that's already been done, so it looks a little bit nicer for you.
So this is the most done your house is at the moment. The rest is completed.
Yeah, the rest is it's a bit of a sight. So it's fun though. It's fun. I enjoy painting.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it? Actually,
good sense of achievement, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I enjoy it too. Well, thanks for joining me tonight, Matt. I really appreciate it. Why don't we start off by, if you could just introduce yourself and kind of share a little bit about your family, how you've got to where you are now, and a little bit about Harbour Church and the worship team that you have there.
Yeah, amazing. So my name's Matt Bray. I grew up in Brighton. Actually, I spent majority of my life over in Brighton. Love the sea. I'm a seacoast kind of guy, and we've been living in Portsmouth now for about 3 years. Part of the team at Harbour Church Portsmouth. I'm actually one of the clergy of Harbour Church Portsmouth as well. So not just leading worship, but part of the leadership in that sense as well. And part of that journey kind of took us from Brighton to Hastings. We spent a bit of time up in London as well, pastoring a team. And then 3 years ago, just before I got ordained, kind of moved down to Portsmouth, joined the team. Alex and Liz and a whole bunch of people down here as well, which is really fun. So that's been our brief kind of whistle stop journey. We've lived in lots of houses, and we're about to move into another one, as you know. And then it's fun. It's all fun.
Fantastic. So how long ago was it that you actually started leading worship?
Well, I've been leading worship since I was about 14. So I'm 30 now, I grew up in like a Baptist church. Yeah. And when I was 9 years old, I basically wanted to be like this guy who was in the youth group, and he played drums, and so I just started playing drums in the worship team. And then I think at school I realized this is going to sound terrible, but I realized the girls like the songwriters more than the drummers. And so I picked up guitar, started teaching myself guitar, started teaching myself like just writing songs and doing that, started a band. And it was interesting, a mate of mine was just getting baptized in a local church, and he was in our band. And so he got our band to play in this really small, quite elderly congregation, and we turned up with our electric guitars and played. And then basically my pastor basically he didn't get jealous, but he sort of thought, hey, well, why don't you start doing that here? And so started leading worship. We kind of pioneered a bit of a youth service in our church. But 13, 14 years old, leading worship at the church I grew up in. And so that was the beginning of the journey, and just carried on from there.
How did you find that as a 14-year-old, as a teenager, but also in the church that you grew up with, around people who have seen you grow up from however old? How was that for you? How did you deal with that?
At the time, it was brilliant. Upon reflection, it was it's hard to say. It's like it was a really bad decision for it to happen, because of course you look back and you say, well, that shaped me now, and it's made me a bit more, but in hindsight, it was a pretty bad decision. And I think the first time I got up to lead worship, sort of introduced as the most anointed young worship leader in Brighton, and so you can imagine what that does to a 14-year-old's head and their mindset.
Yeah.
So, and so that sort of that took me on this journey of one, wrapping my identity around being the worship leader and being a musician, and then it started playing out in kind of school and church life, and it's sort of then kind of the building up of like arrogance. I'd say I became quite an arrogant person in my kind of like teen years, because of that, because you know, through no fault of, well, no fault of their own, but like I was very encouraged to pursue and the gifts that God had given me, and very encouraged to go for it. But it was kind of, my head was getting bigger and bigger as it went on. And then I guess also like that question you asked about like growing up in the church and leading worship in the church that you grew up in as well. I think it also put a lot of pressure, I think, on my parents and on me as well, sort of being up front in a relatively large church as well, being up front, people seeing my mistakes, and people seeing that, and I think it got a bit claustrophobic as well, because my parents were quite my parents were in the leadership of the church as well, and it got a bit much, actually. I wasn't expecting to kind of go down this route of conversation, but it's a huge part of my story. It did get deep. It was a huge part of my story, and I think when I was 19, just turning 20, where sort of like it was this collision of life events and breakups and mess, and where it all kind of came to a head, and just everything collided with each other. And at that point, I just said, "Oh, I'm done with church. I'm done with God. I'm done." I sort of just completely walked out of it. I just felt I had to process a lot of stuff, and so so it was an interesting I mean, like I said, at the time it was really fun, because like we were writing songs with a youth band, and it was super fun. And obviously my developing my musicianship and developing my skills as a leader still grew in that time. So it was amazing at the time. Upon reflection, it was inevitable that it was gonna all come up in this huge moment, which it did. But I'm grateful for God's grace and some good friends around me that kind of pulled me back into it. So there, that's the brief story there.
Fantastic. So Harbour Church now, what's Harbour Church like?
We love being part of Harbour Church. So we Harbour Church itself is only 4 years old. We joined about a year into the plant. Alex and Liz and a team came over from Brighton, St. Peter's, Brighton, and started a new church within Portsmouth. Initially in a derelict department store building, and I can see we're getting a bit of love for Harbour Church Portsmouth there on the comments. So, it's just started there, and it's grown from there. We're now out of that building, and we're now kind of in 3 locations across Portsmouth, in 3 different churches. And to cater for that, you need quite a big team. You need quite a solid team. And then also good leaders within that team as well. So that's sort of where we're at. It's really, really exciting. We're growing. We're, of course, like everyone else in church, trying to figure out what church looks like at the moment and what it might look like in a couple months' time. But again, it's been really fun, and the creative team at Harbour Church and the worship team have been kind of pivotal in kind of like continuing church and making church happen online. So that's been really significant, seeing people kind of step out and get creative with how we can do stuff, and how we can keep reaching people with the good news of Jesus through the medium of social media and online.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. We're getting lots of people joining us. I'm guessing that a lot of them are from Harbour Church. I know Josh Pearson is, Hi,
Yes.
Josh. Nice to see you. Josh is someone that I've known since he was a year old, and it's good to see him doing so well at Harbour Church as well. Fantastic.
Oh,
So
really?
what?
No.
Oh yeah. I
There's
met
some
Josh.
stories there.
Oh yes, more to do with his parents probably.
Sure.
But yeah, yeah. There are a few times that when I first met Josh, well, I met his parents. I used to stay at their house a couple of times at weekends while I was at university. Yeah, there's some stories. It's probably best not to go there. So with three locations that you're doing church, and obviously now during lockdown, you're not using all those three locations, certainly not for in-person meetings. But before lockdown, what was your team like, and how did it manage being in three different locations over a whole weekend?
Yeah. We everything kind of comes under at the moment, and it might obviously things are changing, so we're kind of looking at how we're doing things, but everything comes under Harbour Creative. And so within that we call them streams, which are worship and production and media, arts, and that kind of all comes together under this umbrella of Harbour Creative. And so within Harbour Creative, we've got about 90 odd people
Wow.
within all those different streams, kind of, artists, musicians, drummers, and everything. And so, but even so, it can still feel quite stretching. I'm sure, like, recognizing some of these names, like from the team, some of you guys, and that you'll be able to say better than I. Particularly three locations, but that was 5 services, and there's the biggest number is the singers. And still, you can feel quite like stretched to make sure you've got enough singers at each service, at each location, and so it's tough, and it's quite stretching. I would say, like, tip number one, you've got to get someone really, really good in who can manage that, and that's what we've got in Rochelle Baker, who's just in the comments right now. But she's amazing. She effectively runs the worship team. And I sort of sit in that creative role that oversees those streams. And that makes all the difference. So, like, huge love for Rochelle and all that she does. And what to say? There's so much to say, because as you all know, Matt, like, just so many issues and so many things that you're trying to, like, think through. And but I think one vision is really important.
Does your team have a vision then? Have a vision statement?
Yeah, we do. We don't have a vision statement, and I'll explain why. But we have a clear language around why we exist as a team. And so we don't have a vision statement because the vision statement of the church is we can't improve on that, and so we wanted to. And so Harbour Church's vision is to see or to play our part in the re-evangelization of the nation, the revitalization of the church, and the transformation of society. So the re-evangelization of the nation, we want to see people come to know and love and experience the love of God and meet Jesus. The revitalization of the church, we want to see all churches across Portsmouth alive and thriving, no doors shut, no churches being closed down. And the transformation of society, we want to see the lonely loved, the homeless housed, and we want to see the addicted set free. So and a worship team or a production team is just as much involved in seeing that vision come to life and become reality. And so we felt like that's our vision as well, that as a team we won't separate our vision, but we still wanted to be really clear about, well, how are we supporting that vision? What do we do in supporting that? And so our language is quite clear around that. We talk about, we exist as a team firstly to serve the church, and we say that because with kind of creativity, it's very easy to kind of with like egos and things. Like,
Drift
it's quite,
away to.
yeah, it's quite easy to make
Yeah.
it about you and your part you're playing, and I
Yeah.
that was my story for like I said at the
Yeah.
beginning of this feed. Like I made it all about me, and it was about me being a worship leader and a songwriter, and so we say we exist as a team to serve the church. Like our purpose is to serve the church, and that we call that purpose over preference. And so we might all have like our own, like we might prefer this style of worship, or we might prefer this kind of style of playing music, or whatever it is. But that preference comes secondary to the purpose of the vision and serving the church. And so, so we exist as a team to serve the church and to love the city. So at Harbour Church, we've got this phrase, which is for the 99. Because 99% of people don't go to church. And when Harbour Church was set up and planted, they're very, very clear off the bat, we're not starting a church for the 1%, for people who are already Christians. We want to go for the 99. We want to reach people who aren't being reached, and to reach the people who aren't being reaching, you've got to do the things that aren't being done already. And so for the 99.
So you're turning the song Reckless Love completely on its head.
Yeah. Exactly. And interesting, I heard someone say that the church has almost reversed the parable of the lost sheep. In that almost like the church went out, found the lost sheep, and then just stayed with the one sheep and kept that one sheep, and then all of a sudden you got 99 who are completely missing from and not with the shepherd. And that picture is a picture of God as a loving shepherd who looks after his sheep, and so that's why we want to go for the 99, because by people coming back to God, people coming back to Jesus, they're going to be cared for, they're going to be loved, they're going to be accepted, they're going to be welcomed in. So we're quite passionate at Harbour Church about reaching the 99, and so we have that at the core of worship as well. We don't dull down the worship, or we don't turn the spiritual temperature of worship down, but we're very mindful of the first timer at church. So how we lead and songs that we choose, we're always thinking in that mindset of is this approachable? Is this something that someone who's completely unchurched, never been to church before, can they engage with this, or can they see something in there? So we exist as a team to serve the church and love the city, and then how we do that is by creating ways for people to meet with Jesus. And so I talk about this all the time. You know, that story of where Jesus is teaching in that house, and then there are these guys, these friends who have a friend who needs healing, and they can't get into the house because it's too crowded. There's no way in, and so they do the most creative thing possible, which is they go up onto the roof, cut a hole in, and drop their friend into this space. He meets Jesus and he's healed, and his life is completely changed around. And that's it was that sentiment of like, what's it going to take? Like, what do we need to do? What roofs do we need to cut open? What walls do we need to break down in order for people to meet Jesus? Because we believe that when people meet Jesus, their lives aren't going to be the same again. So
that's fantastic.
So that's sort of our language around that. We exist as a team to serve the church and love the city. And we do that by creating ways for people to meet with Jesus.
That's awesome.
Whatever that looks like, and however it is. And so so we don't have a vision. We play our part in the church overall vision, but sort of that language which helps shape the purpose and of what our team is, and going for it.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So tell me, over your whole experience, and maybe you've probably covered this part of this a little bit with your early years a while ago, but what have been some of the challenges that you have faced as a worship leader, whether it be here at Harbour or in previous churches, What challenges have you faced, and particularly what have you done to overcome them?
I was thinking about this, and one of the personal challenges to me is that I've kind of led 3 teams since moving away from Brighton, and like in, kind of like either a paid role or the voluntary role of overseeing a team. And out of those 3 teams, only one was like starting from scratch, which was the dream, because you can set the culture, you can set the tone, you can sort of set the bar. And I think so. One of the challenges for me was sort of being in London and then coming down here to Portsmouth is you're adopting a team that already has a bit of a set culture, and so the challenge is like how much do you just completely change the culture to what you want it to be, or do you kind of add elements and keep it's that sort of thing, and that can be challenging, because with anyone new coming in, there's always that worry that I guess for team members who have certain roles and who have a certain way of doing things, and it's been the norm for a while. Someone new coming in can disturb the peace a little bit in that sense, and so one of the challenges for me has been kind of navigating that, being that new person coming in with dreams and visions and a way of doing things, and getting it wrong sometimes, and annoying a few people and upsetting a few people, and that's tough, and like believe me, that is really tough to take, because I like people to like me. I don't, so
the Michael Scott quote there, isn't it?
And that's quite a challenge. That has been quite a challenge in the past. I think with anything, there's a relational side of things, and ego feels like quite a strong word, and I don't know if there is, Matt, maybe a better word. But obviously with creatives, we're emotional people, and if someone critiques something that I did musically, I'll take it more to heart, because as a creative, I've not just done, so I've put my heart into something, and I think so that's come both ways. That's come when I've been critiqued and had to deal with the challenge of dealing with that, but that's also when I've had to offer critique and then help pass to that person through that critique, because I might not have said it in the way I could have said it, and I might not have done it with much grace, and I could have been a little bit softer with it, and so that's been a challenge. And I think the thing that's the 2 things that have really helped me with that is, well, firstly, just being honest, and apologizing quickly and owning it up, and I've caught myself like leading a team night, and I've like said a comment from the front which is like totally just like probably just upset someone, and I'm aware of it, and in the moment I thought, oh, this might be a funny thing to say, and maybe some people laughed or not, but I've caught myself doing that, and then that, a couple minutes later, I from the front just had to say, oh guys, I messed that up. I shouldn't have said that. And I think that's been really key, sort of that transparency of like, oh, like I'm not perfect, and I'm I've got a sense of what God's doing and where God might be leading us as a team, but I'm just as raw and messed up as all of you. So I think that comes with it as well, and just the willingness to be honest about our failings and willing to own up to it, I think is really key. Sure. And then also just like who you've got around you. I'm really fortunate and blessed. I've got these guys that I trained with at college, and there's four guys. So there's 5 of us, and we're all curates across the country, and
Yeah.
And we meet together twice a year to kind of like to encourage, to spur each other on. But you know, we've got a text group as well that we're constantly talking,
That's
asking
great.
advice,
Yeah.
texting, and so that I've got basically 4 guys who are constantly praying for me, constantly
Yeah.
wanting to encourage, wanting to like push me on and help me, and we help each other, and so that's been really key. I think Rich Wilkerson Jr. from VU Church calls this
Yeah.
check your circle.
Yes.
So it's like who's the circle around you, and
Yeah.
I think, I mean, without those guys, I probably would have fallen apart a few more times than I have already. And so I that's what I mean, like, just be totally honest.
Yeah.
And check your circle. Who
Yeah.
are your friends that are encouraging you, and who's challenging you, and who's helping you grow. Yeah,
That's fantastic. You're getting some good feedback here. Your team is sending out some love.
I love it. The
So
fire emoji particularly. I love it.
It's good. So is there anything, so coming off of that then, is there anything that you have done that you really wish you hadn't done?
We can't quite go into some specifics, but
yes, you can leave names out and change names and
they might just be too. They might be too recent. That's the problem. But I think in all, I'll give you a practical one.
Yeah.
And I'll vaguely talk about another one. So the vague one is I've made a few comments.
Yeah.
And there are specific people that I didn't treat very well, and didn't honor them very well, and I hold a lot of regret for that. And with all those people, we're really good friends now, and there's been that process of forgiveness and working things through. And I think just in the pressure of stuff, I think we have an enemy who knows where certain things are going to get us, and I think friendships and relationships are one of the key things there. Like the way the enemy will destroy a church is by getting in the middle of relationships. Yeah, and so that's why you've got to really fight. For relationships, you've got to excuse the you got to fight for peace. You've got to really fight for friendships, because that's how things get messy. And so there are certain things that I regret, having kind of messed around a few people and not quite honored them as I perhaps should have. The more practical one, to lighten the mood back up. This is me. Matt. I can get really deep really quickly. But
it's all good. It's all good.
The practical one is holding control over a few kind of areas that I wished I'd been more relaxed on. And so the really practical element is new songs and song choice. I sort of and it's through lockdown that I've been kind of processing this, and I think I've been very much, we've got to be really strategic with how we introduce new songs, really strategic in what those songs are, and are they like helping and teaching the church, which I still hold to that. But equally, I've sort of through lockdown been going, but in terms of trying to create a culture of worship, we've got to get more songs, more songs out, and I think I kind of reflecting on at least even like the last year or last 2 years, holding quite tightly the song selection within worship. I think I wish I'd actually been a little bit more relaxed with that, and allowed our worship leaders to lead where what they were kind of worshipping themselves with, and what was actually stirring in them, and that sort of stuff. So
so trusting your leaders to hear from God themselves for your church.
Because I mean, our how we view God is massively shaped by the songs we worship Him with, and so it is important that we are singing songs of truth and songs that enable us to engage with God's Spirit and work with us. But equally, that, like you said, that allowing the team to sort of shape that as well. And so there's an element of, maybe I should have been a bit more relaxed with that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you've done for your team or with your team that has been really successful in bringing about growth in your team?
What I do, having said, like, the control over song choice. Yeah. Interestingly, I've never had control over like developing people and giving people the opportunity, and I think that's really important. And a friend of mine says you need to. There's only one person in your organization who you should fire, and that's yourself. And it's sort of you got to work yourself out of a job. And so I came with that mindset. It's that I sort of think, if I could stop leading worship, that would be the dream, because more leaders will have grown, more leaders would have stepped up to do that. And so that's what I've been. And I don't know, some of the guys on the stream right now will can say whether or not it's been successful, but really try to enable people to step up in leading, or to step up in different areas, to create a structure where people can learn quickly, and where people can develop in a safe place. You know that kind of that process of, so I do and they watch me. Yeah. And then I do and they help me. Yeah. And then you start to then you hopefully then move into, they do it and I help them. And then they do it and then I'm completely just watching them. Yes. And so just trying to make that round. And I am that specific with our guys in terms of developing worship leaders. I say, this is the structure of what we're doing. Like right now you're watching me learning from my mistakes, learning from my successes, and soon you're going to help me to do it as well. You're going to be on stage, or you're going to be leading that event or leading that moment, and you're going to help me through it. And we're just going to go on this journey, where they then restart it themselves, because they've spotted someone and they go, okay, I'm going to do, and you watch me. And I think that has been successful for a few people within our team, so that's been something that's been very intentional from my part. As I said much earlier on in our conversation, where my identity was so wrapped up in being the worship leader. When I had that time out from church and I came back and did a lot of healing and a lot of processing. It's only from God. God gave me just this ability to be really relaxed with leading and with worship leading, and sort of to be able to hold it really lightly. And so that's what I've tried to maintain, is that I'm trying to work myself out of a job. In order for younger leaders to step up and to do what I'm doing. So I don't have to anymore, and I can do something else.
Do something else. Do the gardening.
Some painting.
Some painting. Absolutely, but a bit all right. That's fantastic. So, is there anything that through your time as a leader, and maybe particularly when you were a young leader, is there any particular advice that someone has given you, or a word of encouragement that someone gave you that has really stuck with you, that has maybe even kind of formed how you've been as a leader since then?
Yes. One bit of advice which has been really, really interesting is someone told me when we planted out of St. Peter's into Hastings, someone in the leadership gave me this advice of don't settle, and that sort of came through in lots of different ways, and I think particularly in a church plant when everything's new and also you want people involved, you want people to get in, and you want to grow the team. There was that sense of don't settle, like set a bar for excellence, and pursue excellence in worship, but also just in terms of like if as a leader you have a vision for something, and if you have a passion, and you've God's given you dreams, and God's given you this this picture of what something's going to look like, don't settle for anything less than that, because if it's from God, it's gonna that's what it needs to be. And so it's a real struggle, and that's where the struggle that comes with, and Mark's actually just commented another phrase of ours, which is progress over perfection as well. So there's that phrase, aim for perfection, settle for excellence. And the issue I have with that phrase is that you're always failing. Because if you're aiming at something and not achieving it, right? You're never going to achieve it. I'm never achieving it.
So you're always a failure. Yeah.
I'm always a failure. Whereas if you have a value of excellence, and each time you're getting better, and so it's not about being the best today, but it's always about getting better today. Yeah. And so that progress over perfection is that we're constantly progressing, and that doesn't just mean anything will do, because we'll get better next time, because we've always got something to look back to and say, that's where we were, that's our standard, and that comes through in our events, in our kind of what we put out, how we produce stuff. Is we've already got like a back catalogue of stuff that it's like, well, we're not going back to that, we're going to keep getting better. Progress over. You'll notice they're all P's. So purpose over.
You like the alliteration.
Progress over perfection. But like let's not settle. God is a creative God. He's an incredible God, and you see in the Old Testament. I named my son Bezalel, which is a guy. Bezalel, and we call him Bez for short. And he's the guy in the Old Testament who makes all kind of like Aaron's robes, makes the Ark of the Covenant, and God is really specific at the detail and the quality of all those things that are going to make up and play the central role in the worship of God's people, and so God is so worthy of praise, and worthy of our devotion, and worthy of our worship. And so let's not settle to give him anything less than our best, and let's keep getting better as we do it as well. Let's not get bogged down in like it being the best and perfect thing. Let's not beat ourselves up when we fail and we've got it wrong, but let's keep getting better, and let's keep going. Let's not settle. And let's see people be transformed by the love of God, and having met with the risen Christ. That's what we do, right?
It's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's really good stuff, Matt. Thank you for sharing all of this stuff. There's so much good stuff here. I can see your team they're continuing to be inspired by all the stuff that you're saying here. It's great.
We've got a very encouraging team.
That head again, it's good.
No, it's all good for me.
It's fantastic. Now, someone's just sent in a question. Here we go. This is from Hilda, who I spoke to a few weeks ago. She's you might know Hilda, yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah.
yeah, with so many gifted and talented people in your team, how do you manage to make sure everyone feels valued for their gifting? Well, how do you find that balance?
Of people feeling. So, do you repeat the question again? Sorry.
So with all the kind of creative and talented people that you have in your team, how do you manage, or how do you make sure that everyone feels valued, or is aware that you are you're respecting and accepting of what they're bringing? How do you manage to make sure that everyone gets that sense of value within your team?
Yeah, I think first, even before that, I think within a team, I think it's really key to create a real ownership over a project, or over the team, or over whatever it is, because you want buy-in from people, so that they know that when they give something, it is needed and it is valued. Whereas if we're just sort of ticking off tasks and ticking boxes and creating that sort of environment where someone's just doing it and they don't love it and they haven't got the passion. So I think that feeds into it. If someone's doing something purely from a practical point of view, it's like, I can produce music, so I've made a track and here you go and you can use it. That's not a great place to that's not a great kind of value to build up in a team, I don't think. And so if you can really create a buy-in from people, and that comes through vision, sort of saying, hey, here's where we're going, and your gift, your talent is really, really needed. I think that's really key. And then in terms of people, then in what they've then given after, like, their buy-in, and it's just relationship. There's nothing more complicated than it, and it's relationship. And that's where, as we've already said earlier tonight, like, that's where it can get messy, because relationships and people can get messy at times, and so honesty within that as well. Relationship. And what we've done is we've set up a structure of kind of stream pastors, and so we have pastors for each instrument. Like, so we have an instrument lead, so we have a drum pastor, a bass pastor, who is being fed into the vision from so, like, say Rochelle is running the worship team, and then she's got all her stream pastors and her instrument leads, who, because particularly if you've got a big team, for one person to kind of make, like, you're basically gonna kill your worship pastor if you're expecting them to be the person to make sure that you feel valued and loved, and that's gonna exhaust that person. And so that sort of structure of team and pastors and people who you can say, hey, your specific role is to look after the people who play bass. And, like, let me know if you need any help. Let me know if I can do anything to support you in that. But, like, that's your role. And then again, you're empowering people, you're growing leaders, and you're empowering people and getting more buy-in from them as well, and just creating that culture of buy-in, ownership. If there's a problem in the worship team, it's not just the worship pastor's problem, but it's the whole team's problem. To come together and to find a solution, to come together and to work it out together. That's what I'd say. So buy-in and then relationship is all got to be done through constant, really, short accounts and being relational. Matt, I know I texted you really before saying
I was just going to say
I couldn't. I don't think I could do what
I can't talk for 50 minutes. You've now become the longest conversation that I've had.
It's been classic.
And Sarah, who I spoke to last week, who set the record for 50 minutes, has just joined us. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. Sarah, your record for 50 minutes has just been beaten by Matt here.
I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry. There you go.
This has been so good, actually, Matt. There's been so much good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your heart.
That's right.
Just very quickly, just finish up. Are there any books or podcasts, books that you're reading or podcasts that you're listening to at the moment that you think would be really inspiring for worship leaders to listen to?
Interestingly, I don't. I listen to like Craig Rochelle leadership podcast. Yeah. I think in terms of worship, that I mean, there's so much out there, but I think I've invested so much in more like leadership thinking, and so that it just feeds into kind of the way that I might lead a team of worshippers or worship leaders. And so sorry to disappoint. That's probably the one I can talk least on.
Okay. No problem.
And with I've got a 5-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. So I mean, who has time to listen to podcasts?
This is why you're in the new house now. Get some rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think seriously, investing in actually leadership skills and relational skills goes such a long way. So Craig Rochelle leadership podcast, in terms of just practical side of things, is amazing. Yeah, I really
fantastic. Really That's great. Thank you so much. Well, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you tonight, Matt. I'm glad. I'm amazed that you managed to stick it out for 55 minutes. You've done so well. You never would have believed it, would you?
No, I wouldn't. I didn't think I'd talk that long. I clearly. There you go.
This is a revelation evening for you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And just so those of you that have just joined us right at the end of this, you can catch up with this whole conversation on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/MattLockwood73, that's my YouTube channel. This conversation will be up later this evening, plus a whole load of other conversations that I've been having. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining. It's been a pleasure to have you. I know you're getting lots of love from your team here. And we will catch up very soon.
Thanks so much. Yeah, see you soon, man. See you later.
See you soon, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, that's Matt. It was such a good conversation. He has so much wisdom to share. I hope you got some stuff out of that. And thank you, everyone, for joining with us, for sticking with us. These conversations were not meant to last this long, but the thing is, when you get talking to someone and they start sharing stuff that's meaningful to them, stuff that's happened to them, and the challenges that they know they've overcome and how they've done that, and the successes that they've had, people want to share. People want to talk about the stuff that they've gone through, and that's the whole point of these conversations: is to give people the opportunity to share their journey. Thank you so much for joining. Next week, I'm going to be talking with a very good friend of mine, Simon Triffitt, who is the worship pastor at Life Church down in Folkestone. And I've known Simon probably over 25 years, and he's been the worship pastor at Life Church that whole time. If you want to look at someone who has been consistent and faithful in their role as a leader, then Simon is your guy. He's just such an incredible leader. I'm looking forward to chatting to Simon, catching up with him next week. Thank you for joining me tonight. Don't forget, again, you can catch up with this on YouTube. Also, check out 631worship.com. Book in for our next online event, which is going to be next month. Really looking forward to that. And I will see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.